Well, hello there, everybody. Can you hear me now? Hello, 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 hello. Can anybody hear me? If you can, say hello, give me a thumbs up or something, just so I know this is all working correctly. Okay, I'm going to assume it's working correctly, but we all know what happens when I assume stuff, right? Gold's Metal Detecting Adventure. Wow, you changed your name. Cool. Hey, Gold, glad you made it here. That is a different name, isn't it? Leando leaves land. I like that, Lando. That's cool. I like that a lot. Yeah. I got a funny story to tell about that, actually. Hey, Sorrente, how you doing? Hello, CDN. Good to know it's working. Awesome. Yeah, I thought Weigold was just Weigold before. You added the metal detecting adventures. You know, it's interesting that you did that. Hey, Minute Man. Yeah. I'll tell you all about the shave here in a little bit, but Weigold, I've actually been looking at metal detectors, underwater metal detectors. I've been doing some shopping and looking online at different versions of that. I want one that I could use to scuba dive with. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Hello, SV Escape. Welcome. I was getting back. Getting dinner. I'm back. Okay, Sorrenti, no problem. Hey, Austin, how you doing? Glad to see you here. Yes. I know. Yeah, I look horrible, don't I? And I feel like I look horrible with it gone. I look fatter now. Even though I'm skinnier than what I was, I look fatter now. So, got to do a little work on that, but we'll get it cleaned up here pretty quick. It's growing back out already. I'm getting some peach fuzz coming in. So, hopefully we'll get this cleaned back up and get the beard going here again, but yeah, I guess all right. So, I was trimming and actually, I got a little carried away with the trimming. The dog actually came up and bumped my arm while I was trimming the mustache with my shears. You know, the trimmer thing, and it whacked off a piece of the side of the mustache here. I said, screw it. I just took it all off so it all start growing back out even again. So MindLab XCal 2 is a good one, but very expensive. I'll have to look that up. MindLab XCal 2. Okay, I'll check them out. Yeah, I need something that can go in fairly deep water. Not that I'm going to go past recreational dive limits. I don't feel much need for that, but I'd like something I can at least get down to 100, 150 feet with. So you look like the scary bald guy from the early post. Yeah, that's true, Austin. And probably going to see more of the scary bald guy, actually, because once I'm on the boat and scuba diving, I'm going to need to probably take off some more. And when you're in the tropics, the last thing I need in the tropics is more hair. So we'll see how that all goes. I've heard great things about MindLab tools. Cool. You'll have to shave Lily. No, I don't think she'll like that very much. Hello, Justimere Homestead. Welcome. Glad you guys made it. I don't think that will go that deep. Okay. Well, we'll have to look. I will check it out and see. Mostly I'm going to be using it in shallow water along the beaches and that kind of stuff. But I do want to use it while scuba diving and get out in a little bit deeper water. Searching for, for plunder. I want to look for plunder, for pirate remains, leftovers, gold, treasure. So it'll be one of the fun things I actually want to do more for myself than anything else, just to go out and swim without a camera for a while and just use a metal detector and play on the bottom a little bit. Found a sailboat abandoned down here in San Diego. I did post a video about it. Oh, cool. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of abandoned sailboats. I'll have to check out your video, Weigold. I'll do that. The sailboats being abandoned is unfortunately a fairly common thing. Well, not real common, but there's a lot of people that get out on the boats and get into some rough weather and kind of freak out and call the Coast Guard, need to be rescued, and they literally get rescued off of a perfectly good boat, which is indicative of the fact that those boats are then found many months later floating someplace like where you found it, you know. It's not an uncommon story. So I, for one, hope to find some abandoned boats out there. I will salvage them and sell them. If you found it, you can claim salvage on it, and it's yours to own then. So, hello, Christine. Welcome. Or a very fine bikinied camera woman. Well, yeah, that would be something would be nice to have as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we will have some crew on board to help with camera angles and that kind of stuff. I anticipate inviting a few people to join me on board the boat and go cruising. Really, at very little expense to them. I mean, except for their contributing to the galley budget for food. The boat expenses are the boat expenses. They're pretty much going to be mine anyway. So there's a lot of people that just leave their boats. Yeah, there's a lot of people that will jump off of a perfectly good boat and get rescued. I know some people in the Coast Guard that tell stories about people that, yes, it's rough and it's uncomfortable and the seas are whatever, but, they'll get rescued off of a perfectly good sailboat. There's nothing wrong with the boat. It hasn't been demasted. It's not sinking. It doesn't have any major problem. They just freak out, get scared, and want rescued. So, yeah, I'm looking for lots of those boats. I would like to find all those boats I can, because they're too scared to be out there sailing. They shouldn't be there. Hello, Chips Ahoy. Welcome. Glad you made it. I love to join, and my funds do not require me to be a certain place. I love swimming. I just need to get my scuba certs. Yeah, one of the things I would require with anybody on board is that they be scuba certified. Um, I don't care if they don't have to have the advanced open water diving certification, which would be nice, but they certainly have to have the basic certification. So this one has a damaged bottom. It got picked up last week when I went back to the beach. Oh, well, that's too bad. Yep, boats and land don't mix very well. Hey, Kim, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Is Kelly going to join us today, or did he go bowling? For those of you who don't know, Kim Binkley is the mother of Megan Binkley, who is on Sailing Doodles, which is another YouTube channel, a cruising channel about a guy and a girl, not a couple, just friends, out on a sailboat with a couple of Labradoodles, which I find interesting since I'm going to be sailing with my Labrador Retriever. So it's going to be fun. But, yeah, for those of you that missed it earlier, yeah, Grandpa lost a beard. I got carried away with my trimmer and with Lily's assistance. We decided it was time to take off the beard and the mustache. I actually did that. Well, I mean, it was by accident, but I'm going to claim I did it intentionally. In marking the passage of a pretty good event that happened. Did you feel the big quake by Haynes? No, I did not feel the big quake by Haynes. I did not. There was two of them actually down there, Weigold. There was a 6.1 and a 6.0, and no, I did not feel those. Those were far enough away. But I can tell you it's been rocking and rolling up here, although the last few days have been fairly quiet. So I'm kind of glad. I'm pretty glad on that. I'm going to go scuba diving. Yeah, you're going to have to find a place to go scuba dive. There are places all over. I want to do cave diving. Yep, I will probably do some cave diving. I'm not really big on that. I'm going to try to stay out of it, but we'll see. You look so much younger. Oh, gosh. Hey, Sailing Doodles. Wow, Bob and Megan, thanks for jumping in, guys. I really appreciate you. I was just talking about you guys a second ago. So I'm glad you guys are here. Thanks for joining me. Sailing Doodles, by the way, guys, give them a shout out. Great sailing channel. And I am really happy that their plans now are they're selling their boat. Looks like they've got a deal on a boat in Italy, so they're going to fly over to Italy and get that boat and be bringing it back, selling the Med for a while, and bringing it back, which I'm really excited about. I'll be interested to see what's going on with that. I just wish they were taking their dogs with them, but I understand how difficult that can be. So it is what it is. No longer grandpa, you look a lot younger. Yeah, well, I'm still a grandpa. I sort of accidentally shaved. I got carried away with the trimmer, and it is what it is. But we'll see. We'll see. Gosh, now that you guys are here, I'm afraid to talk about what I was going to talk about today. You guys are going to steal my idea, but that's okay. If you do, then it's all good. Let me kind of jump into that now that everybody's here. I was going to talk about shrimp trapping, as I was talking about last week, but I ran into a problem last week with the weather, so I was going to do it this week. Once again, we've got rain up here, so we're going to have to not do that again this week. So, Buddy System Essential Cave Diving. Make sure whoever's there is their head screwed on straight. Yes, Minuteman, absolutely. It's just a matter of not panicking. The problem, every time, 100% of the time when people dive scuba diving, it's either they didn't prepare properly or they panic. Those are the two big killers. Remaining calm and thinking through is the key to that. So, okay, so let me tell you about what I'm doing. Bob, I found a boat, and here she is. I found a boat in New York, upstate New York, actually, and it is a Dufour 41 with a sugar scoop, which is exactly what I'm looking for. The boat has a sugar scoop rear end on it, which means I can get in and out of the boat easily with my dogs. I don't have to climb up the freeboard. See, the side of the boat, that's the freeboard. Very difficult to climb up that freeboard, but with the sugar scoop on the back, it makes it easy to get in and out. Now, it's on the market right now for about $65,000. I'm hoping to be able to buy it for about $55,000. But it's a pretty nice boat. As you can see, it's got a single steering wheel. I don't like the dual wheel type boats. I do and I don't. I like the room they make in the cockpit. I don't like the fact that you have two wheels, and so there's that much more that can go wrong. It's got a Dodger, which is the blue thing you see right over the middle of the boat. That blocks the wind. That's why it's called a Dodger. For those of you into sailing, I'm going to try to talk about some things here because there's a lot of people watching that are not into sailing yet and don't understand a lot of the terminology, which is fairly esoteric for cruisers. But so it's got a Dodger and it's got a Bimini, and the Bimini is the blue thing that's sort of tied up across the top. That's a cover or a sunshade that folds down, whereas the Dodger kind of keeps you out of the wind more. But it's got a pretty nice cockpit. It's got a nice access up off the back. It's got a folding down swim ladder. It looks like it's going to get pretty deep down the water and pretty nice to climb back up into. Some of the things I really enjoy about this boat design is the way the decks are laid out. Here's a little bit of a closer up shot of the back of the boat. You'll be able to see in this one that there is a good seating area. Why is it not transferring over? Am I that far behind? There we go. Okay. Took a while for it to pop up. But pretty good sized cockpit, a little bit better access. There you can see the Dodger is up, but now here the Bimini is completely extended out. So it gives you a pretty good coverage area. The draft on it is 5.5 feet. It's a shoal drafted boat, so it's fairly shallow drafted. But for the kind of sailing that I'm going to be doing, which is a lot of the Bahamas and a lot of shallow areas, that would be preferred for me. I'm looking for a fairly shallow drafted boat, so I kind of like that. Got a propane grill on the back. It's got a place to hang your outboard on the back. It's got davits, although they're fairly light. It does have davits on the back. Davits are part of the metal work on the back of a boat that you can use to raise your dinghy which is the little boat you bring along with you, raise your dinghy in and out of the water. So anyhow, I kind of like the design of this boat in particular because of the ease of access of getting in and out of the back. It looks like a very comfortable cockpit with plenty of room on it. And for a 41 footer, actually the cockpit looks pretty small to me actually on a 41 footer. I would have thought the cockpit would have been larger than that, but it's not. So it is what it is. Okay, on this next slide, we're looking at the engine, diesel engine, 40 horsepower, I think is what the spec said. Let me jump over there real quick. Sorry, I thought I knew this off the top of my head. Yes, it's a Volvo Penta 55, so it's 55 horsepower. Diesel, looks to be very clean, looks to be in really nice shape, looks like a nice clean installation. If you look at the front of the engine, sort of the bottom left, there's a round thing, looks kind of brown and rusty or red colored. That's the cover for the impeller. The impeller is one of the high maintenance items on cruising boats. That helps move the water around the boat for its cooling. Those tend to wear on these things and tends to break down. Volvo makes great naval engines. Yeah. This is a Volvo Penta, which is actually, I believe, a Kubota engine. I think the underlying motor, as are most of the marine diesels, are that. And 55, plenty on a 40 footer. Yes, yeah, Bob and Megan, it is 50 footer, 55 horsepower would be absolutely plenty on that boat. So I think she's well powered. Okay, on this next slide, we're looking at the side deck, and the reason why I wanted to show you this picture, one of the things that's important for a fat old bastard like myself is to be able to move around the boat safely. And it's hard for me to do that with some boats. This boat, you notice kind of in the middle of the picture on the deck there, there's a bunch of metalwork sticking out of the deck with the rigging sticking up from that, and that's inbound of the lifelines that run along the outside. I like this design because I can move along the outside edge of the boat up and down the side of the boat easily. Now, while I'm underway, that makes it important that I have good access to the sides of the boat. But also, guys, I like to fish a lot, and sometimes I'm going to have to walk up and down the length of the boat fishing, so I need to have good access. Let's see, Bob says we only have 30 on a 37 foot and it's underpowered. Heard it's best to have 1 horsepower per foot. Yeah, I would agree with that, Bob. I think so. I think at least 1 horsepower per foot. As you get into the larger boats, I think you really need to start thinking about 1.5. This particular boat's well rigged. The rigging looks to be in pretty good shape. It was recently redone. All lines are led aft into the cockpit, so there's really no reason to have to come forward, except for maybe if you're putting in a reef. And it has a roller furling out on the jib, so pretty cool. Now let's take a look at some of the interior shots. Here we're going to take a look at the head to begin with. I don't know why I have the head as the first shot, but just the way I guess they came up. This particular boat has 2 heads, which means 2 bathrooms, each of them with showers inside of them. So it'd be convenient for a few people to travel in. Recycled, hey, welcome. No, this is not the boat that I'm definitely buying. This is a boat that I'm looking at to give you guys an idea of what I'm looking for. If I had my money right now today, yes, I would go and buy this boat today. It is what I'm looking for. But I don't have my money today. I'll get to that in just a moment. But, you know, for those of you that are interested, here's a look at the interior. This is the not the cockpit, but the galley and the salon, they call it, which is basically your dining room and kitchen area. And what I like about this one is it's very roomy. You can get in and out through the middle pretty easily. There's good handholds on both sides. Yeah, man, it's very clean interior. Very, very clean interior. On the left side, you've got the galley. So you've got a refrigerator there in the front, and then there's also a freezer that you can see there on the bottom left corner, the handle of the door to the freezer. So there's a front loading freezer, and then there's a top loading refrigerator. It's got a propane gimbaled stove, and then the sinks that go on behind that with, it's got hot water for the showers and for the sink dishes, which is actually a real nice step up from my dry cabin here in Alaska. And actually has more room inside the sailboat than my cabin has. Good seating all around, has good storage on the sides, doesn't have a bunch of pipes or anything sticking up through the seating, which can be a problem on a lot of boats. Yeah, Minuteman, actually, there's a figure on the hours. I think she's only got very few hours on the engines, so she does not have a lot of use. I think they were talking like 500 or 600 hours is all that was on the engines. And that's, one of the best indicators or the best way to tell how old a boat is. What I do is I take the hours on the boat, on the engine, whatever the hours are, 1,000 hours, let's say, and I times that by 60 miles an hour is the way I look at it. If I'm driving my truck, I'm driving 60 miles an hour. On the outside, I think the average is actually more like 45. And so I take the hours times 60 and I figure, well, okay, so I'm buying a car with a diesel engine with this many miles on it. And that gives me, a good way to relate to how many hours are on the boat and how much wear that is. Bob, no, there's no generator built into the boat, but that's something I'm going to work on. I will cure that pretty quickly. So, okay, let me get down to the next picture here. Here's another picture of the interior. In this picture, you can see the way the galley is laid out a little bit closer. You can see the nav station. We're actually looking aft now. We're looking towards the back of the boat. So you can see the nav station. You can see the stairs going in and out. Those white stairs up in the middle is how you get in and out of the boat. There's doors on either side. There's actually two doors on the right-hand side. One goes into the back bedroom sort of thing, and one on the right steps right into the head. There's another bedroom there on the left, and then there's the nav station there in the back left corner. See a lot of guys that hang a Honda 2K Jenny on the sugar scoop. Yep, and that may be a possibility. I got to look at the boat and its holding capacity, how big the lockers and stuff are on it. Of course, I have a lot of stuff to store on a boat, a lot more than most people, with all my scuba diving and all my fishing and my science stuff. So I've got a lot of stuff to store on there. But I'm going to see. Worst case scenario is, yes, I will set up a little Honda gen set someplace. I'm sure I can fit one down in a hole rather than leave it on the sugar scoop. That would get kind of wet back there. And those Hondas are pretty good generators. So, okay, on this next slide, we're going to look at the overall layout of the boat. And in this one, you can kind of see that there is a pretty good layout. It's got room for the 3 bedrooms. You can see that there is, whoop, there it goes. Okay, there's 3 bedrooms. There's a V berth up in the front. There's the 2 staterooms in the back. There's a head to the back on the port side. The nav station is off to starboard. That means right. Port's left. And then there's a head, ensuite head up in the V berth as well, both of which with hot and cold showers. There's also a shower out on the sugar scoop on the stern, hot and cold water back there. So, yes, when not sailing, you could put it on the back. Sure, that'd be a good place to leave it. That way you can run it from back there and the exhaust doesn't bother anybody. Hey, Kelly, glad you made it. Glad you're here. Hey, Parrot Sailor. Yes, absolutely, Parrot Sailor. One of the staterooms will definitely get used as a garage. I think what I might do actually is I might use the V berth for myself, use the starboard rear bedroom as a garage, workshop, that kind of stuff, and then have the other one for visiting guests. So, and yeah, this does not have, neither of these bathrooms have a separate shower stall. That is one downside, but it's only a 41-foot boat. So you just got to deal with wet showers. So I will say this much though, living in my tiny little dry cabin here in Alaska, I'm just glad to have running water on the damn boat. I don't have running water here in my cabin up in Alaska. I literally have to take a wheelbarrow over to my well, fill 5-gallon jugs, and bring them in and heat water on the stove in order to do dishes. And I got to drive over here to a local truck stop to take showers. So this is going to be a huge step up for me. Will I go wind or solar? I'm going to be setting up solar on the boat, Weigold. I'm going to be putting in a pretty solid solar array. In rough anchorage, you'll want to sleep as far aft as you can. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I should take the back bedroom and leave the V berth for visitors. Might not be a bad idea. I'll see. I'll play around with it and see. I'll have time to mess with that and figure out where I prefer. Number stall is where I store things and shower on deck. Yeah, Lando, a lot of people do that. A lot of people use that, and I will probably shower up on deck. I have no problem stepping outside and showering outside. If you don't want to see it, don't look. It will not be filmed in part of my channel, but I'll save you guys that much. But yeah, all V-berths should be a sail locker. Oh, well, okay. Well, I'm not racing, so I don't need to have an array of sails. Difference between cruising and sailing, I'm going to have, the sails mounted. I'm probably going to have all my sails up on deck and mounted at all times. I may, on this boat, put a pole out in the front and install a spinnaker out there on a permanent basis. I got to wait and get to it and see what the rigging is like before I make that decision. Hook up a few golf cart batteries to a solar panel. Yeah, Sorrenti, actually it's going to be more than that. I really need to have good power because I'm going to be powering a lot of electronics, recharging the cameras and the batteries and all that kind of stuff. So, in fact, here's a look at the panel. This is at the nav station. And those of you that aren't well versed in boats probably won't understand most of this, so I'll try to explain it to you as best I can. What you have in the nav station is you've got your AC and DC electrical panels. You can see that there in the middle. Those are your on-off switches for the basic power into every device on the boat. So you can turn on and off your air conditioning, which this boat has. You can turn on and off the refrigeration. You can turn on and off the mast lights. You can turn on and off different parts of the boats by controlling these breakers. This is a charter layout. I prefer 2 stateroom designs. Yeah, Parrot Sailor, I would too, but finding this boat at this size and this quality in my price range, more than happy to deal with the 3. And in fact, I plan on having some guests on board with me, so I really prefer the 3 stateroom design in this case because it gives me a storage room and then a guest bedroom plus my area. So keeping it in residential terms. So anyhow, you can see here there's a controller there directly under the black thing going across the top. That's a light. Underneath that, you can see there's a Raymarine head there. That's going to show some of the boat's controls. I'm not sure exactly what that is, which one that is there. I think that is the remote control for the autopilot. Actually, it's got a big, heavy autopilot in it. There is pretty good electronics on board. There's a good VHF, good stereo system, radar, AIS, all of that's already installed on the boat. So it's pretty well set up as far as the electronics are concerned, with a repeating screen out at the pedestal, as well as the rest of the tri-data gauges for wind speed, direction, course over ground, controls for the autopilot, those sorts of things. So anyhow, this just quickly, this is a look at the what would this be? This would be the port side rear stateroom, which might end up being where I live. And then Here is the V-berth. Shows you what that looks like. And there's plenty of room up there. Storage underneath the V-berth, plus there's also the day tank and fuel tanks underneath the berths. So there's plenty of storage on the boat, shelves up on the sides, hanging lockers. Pretty nice setup all the way around, I think. Frankly, I think the boat's looking really clean and pretty much has a lot of the things that I would like. Up in the V-berth, you see that wire hanging down there. This is sort of weird. I guess you got to pop open the front hatch and stick that wire up through. I guess, although it shows their controls up on the front for the windlass for the anchor change. So, does it have a dinghy? It does not come with a dinghy, which is not a bad thing for me because, frankly, I would be buying a new dinghy anyway. Because to me, that's a critical piece of equipment that I need to make sure I've got a good solid dinghy and I've got a good dinghy outboard on the back. Biggest problem I hear about with sailors, and the one thing that really affects the overall enjoyment of their time out cruising, is not having a good dinghy and not having a good windlass. So, and yeah, Parasail, I believe that's the remote for the windlass, although I don't know why it would need to have a remote because there's windlass buttons on the floor right next to the windlass. So, and I would not get a rubber or PVC dinghy Minuteman Hypalon. It would be the only way to go. Absolutely Hypalon. And I would want to have at least 15 to 20 horsepower. I've been looking at the weights of them, and surprisingly, with most manufacturers, and I would like either a Mercury, a Honda, or possibly a Yamaha Tohatsu, one of those, just because you can get parts anywhere in the world for that. But a lot of whether you go with a 9.9, a 15, or a 20, they all pretty much weigh about the same. It's just a matter of how much they opened up the the ventilation in the engine to create more horsepower. So anyhow, here's another shot of the boat from the side. I think it's a pretty good, solid little boat. I really do. I think it's going to be a great little boat for me for what it is I'm trying to do, and I think it would do a good job for me. What do you guys think? Does that look like something that you would expect? Or, I mean, you guys know what we're doing here. What's your thoughts on that? And Sailing Doodles, don't you dare go and buy that out from under me. Yeah. Now here's the funny thing, Parrot Sail. You're asking about where the boat is. Let me ask first, Srenti. No, I would want a two-stroke engine. Just easier to have to deal with, not a four-stroke. Although four-strokes are quieter, I'd probably just get a two-stroke engine, easier to work on, easier to get sails. Parasailor, the boat is in New York. It is on Lake Champlain in New York. So that's a bit of a problem because being up on Lake Champlain, I would have to drive up to Lake Champlain and then, sell my truck there, which I'm going to sell my truck wherever the boat is, that doesn't bother me. But then I'd have to bring the boat down through the Champlain Canal, which means I'd have to demast it there in the lake, and then bring it down through the New York Canal system, go down the Champlain Canal, and then out into the river and down the river into New York. So, Parasail freshwater boat. Well, not necessarily. Freshwater is not nearly as corrosive or difficult on boats as the saltwater is. But, a leak's a leak is a leak. And if there's water leaking in, fresh or salt, it still does damage. So, yes, there is that advantage. And the hull will probably be in better shape because there's not as much nasty stuff in freshwater as there is in saltwater to go after it. But I think it might be interesting to come down through New York. And of course, one of the things I really want to do, one of my goals is I really want to sail into New York Harbor. Actually into Port Washington, where I grew up as a kid. I would really like to sail into that harbor on my own sailboat. Manhasset Bay in New York is where I learned to sail. Um, I had a girlfriend. I had a girlfriend in high school whose parents were into sailing. I don't know if she's watching this. I hope not. Um, but she convinced me that sailing was a good life while we were out sailing one day, and I'll just leave it at that. Uh, One of my fondest memories as a young high school guy was this girlfriend and I out on her sunfish out in Manhasset Bay, where she was kind of showing me the ropes, literally, about how to sail. And well, suffice it to say, we had a real pleasant afternoon out on the bay that day. And to this day, I've had a love of sailing ever since. Maybe that's why, I don't know, but you guys can use your imagination as to my motivation there. Rigging lasts on fresh water, and the rigging is an expensive refit item. Yeah, Parrot Sailor, and the rigging on this boat was actually replaced not that long ago. So I think it's going to be really good. Look her up. Yeah, actually, Minuteman, she moved to Ohio. Surprisingly, her and my first wife became good friends. Weird. And she ended up marrying a guy that used to work for me. So she now lives in Ohio. And from what I can see, she does not have much of a social media position, because I've tried to look her up and contact her, and I've been unable to do so. But she's married anyway. So I'm looking for new. So I'm looking for new. So something new for Grandpa. So that's where I'm going. Yes, Splendor on the Waves. Face plant. Yeah, I'm not even going to address that, Minuteman, but you're on the right track. Anyhow, so what do you guys think of this DeFore? I think it'd be fun. The sails and the engine, Parrot Sailor, as far as I know, they're in good shape. I'm going to have to get there and slam the tires and kick the doors and all that kind of fun stuff to really look the boat over. But it is what I'm looking for. That is exactly ideally what I'm looking for, to find a 41-foot boat with a sugar scoop that I can afford. Freaking awesome. And if it needs a little something here, there, or elsewhere, I'm a patient man. If it needs sails, I can make sails. I have a Sailrite sewing machine, so I can buy a sail kit and sew my own sail if I need to, or I can, keep patching these up if they only need a little patch. So, okay, sort of off topic. I've had good experience with Johnson Evinrude engines. Yeah, Sorrenti, it all depends on your thing. I know growing up as a young man, I had a Mercury outboard. I had a Ike Heifer Merc 400, and I went all over the place with that. Traveled all over the world with it. So I don't know. We'll see. What year is it? She's a 2003 DeFore 41 Classic, and you can find her on Yacht World if you want to search for it. Do yourself a favor and change head hoses right away. Yeah, all the rubber on the engine, I would swap all that out, and in the heads, all that. Yep, I agree. Clean the tanks out. All that stuff would be something that I would want to do even before I move aboard. And I'm going to want to move aboard pretty quickly. So, yeah, there are certain things that I would want to do very quickly. I feel seasick. Well, Kevin, I'm sorry to hear that. Am I making you seasick from my movements? I'm here in a cabin. I'm on dry ground. I shouldn't be making you seasick. Caribbean is a place to buy a two-stroke Dink motor. They still sell them there. Yeah, you can buy a good. I mean, I'll probably end up with a Honda or a Mercury. And I can go to Cabela's and buy a Mercury. Hell, up here in Alaska, I can go to local sporting goods store and buy a Mercury for a couple grand. So, not a huge thing. But I want to make sure that I get as much horsepower as I can carry, because for me, that's going to be my limitation. Is I need to be able to pick it up. so I can take it off the dinghy and hang it on the back of the sailboat myself if I have to. Now, yes, I'll rig up something on the boom and on the back of the mast to lift it up, or mount a boom to the davits or something to pick up the motor. But I want to be able to, when I was a younger man, I used to ride motorcycles, and I learned a long time ago as a young man, never ride a motorcycle so big that you can't pick it up. If you can't pick it up, stand it back on its wheels, don't drive it. And I feel the same way about my outboard motors. If I can't pick it up off the ground myself, I should have known it. So that will probably be the biggest limiter to me. I'm going to buy as big a motor as I can possibly pick up. But now I'm a big guy, okay? So I can pick up a lot. I mean, I'm pretty strong. I know old Megan was talking about those guys with guns and their dreadlocks. Well, old Grandpa's got guns too. So I can pick up a pretty good amount of weight. I have to pick up myself. So, although I'm getting smaller every day, making progress. Let's see, Minuteman says, big things to take in mind with the dinghy is the type of tools needed to sea repair and their combined weight. Yeah, Minuteman, and there's a touchy subject for me. I am a tool guy. I have a lot of tools, bunch of tools. Biggest problem I'm going to have is narrowing my tools down to something portable. So what I did is I went out and I bought a couple of these DeWalt tool bags. If I can't fit it in those bags, I'm not taking it with me. And that's what I'm doing. I'm reducing all my tools down to 4 canvas tool bags. So I'll have a pretty good set of tools with me. I'll have more tools with me than most cruisers have. But yeah, that's something I have to worry about, the weight for those. Hondas and Yamahas are hell of expensive. Yes, they are, Sorrenti, but Hondas, I can't speak for Yamahas anymore, but Honda's pretty good engines. I've been pleased with the experience I've had with Honda motors lately. So you're going to have to see. You can't buy two-strokes in the United States anymore, though. Really? You cannot buy two-strokes in the United States. I did not know that. I hadn't paid much attention. I guess I'll have to double check. Huh. Which is why I made the comment. Okay. Huh. I'll have to double check that. I hadn't paid that much attention to it. So I guess I will look. But yeah, I would prefer a two-stroke. Easier having a 4-stroke, not having to mix your own oil and stuff with the water or with the fuel. But it will be what it will be. My thing is a full inflatable because I don't want to last 12 tons of crap on deck. Okay, so you would not buy a rib is what you're saying, Parrot Sailor. Your dinghy would be completely inflatable. I guess that can make sense. Is that what you're trying to say? Honda's great. Yamahas are amazing as well. Always had Yamaha ATVs and engines. They're just as good as Honda. Okay, well, good to know, Sorrenti. I used to have a Yamaha 4-wheeler, and I wasn't overjoyed with the motor on my Yamaha. That was 2.5 decades ago. Actually, it was the first 4-wheeler when they went to 4-wheelers. If you guys remember, they started out 3-wheelers. And then they came out with 4-wheelers. The Yamaha that I owned was the first Yamaha that was a 4-wheeler and not a 3-wheeler. It was the first time they made a 4-wheeler. And it was a good 4-wheeler. I ran all over the place with it, but I didn't care too much for the Yamaha engine. But, that was a long time ago, and it was a new thing for them. So, but many like ribs. Yeah, Parrot Sailor, I'm kind of a rib kind of guy because I'm so big and heavy. I like the support that the rib gives to the boat. You can't buy a new 2-stroke in the United States. You can still buy a used one. It's an EPA thing. Okay. Huh. Well, then I may end up having to buy a 4-stroke. We'll see. Because I'm not going to leave the United States. I'm not going to go anywhere on the boat without a dinghy and an outboard motor. If I buy it up on Lake Champlain, I'm going to find out what their situation is. And if necessary, I will buy the dinghy and the outboard and throw them on my truck and bring them with me. I'm not going anywhere in a boat without having a good dinghy and an outboard. So they make some of the best ATVs now. I believe they've gotten better with time. Huh. Well, my last ATV was a Polaris, and I've had a couple Polarises over the years. I can tell you up here in Alaska, they're very popular, the Polarises. Very popular. They hold up well, and they do well in our climate up here. So and we're abusive. Alaska is probably about the toughest place in the world to have anything, because we get 3 weeks of -30 weather, and in 3 weeks of -30, I can go out there and jump on my four-wheeler and it'll start. Now the seat may crack and break because it's frozen cold and I put my big butt on it, but shouldn't be that bad. So the property is selling soon then. Parrot Sailor, yes, that was my big announcement that I was going to announce today. Yes. This past week, I met with the lady that has been on again, off again with the property. She has been approved for her financing. She came back over here this week and talked with me, brought her brother with her. I guess her and her brother are buying the property. The brother is going to run the peony farm. She cares for not necessarily disabled children, but challenged children, like fetal alcohol syndrome kids, and kids that have behavioral issues. She cares for them. So she gets paid to take care of these 5 kids. She's a nurse, she's an RN, but she gets paid to take care of these kids. She has done so well with it that she now owns 3 homes. 1 she lives in and 2 she rents out. She's going to sell one of those homes and buy my 80 acres and build up here a place for her and her mother and her brother, but also then she wants to build like a camp thing for these kids that have those kinds of issues. So how about Canada for a 2-stroke? You'll have to drive through it. Austin, that's a great idea. I won't have to drive through it. Well, yeah, yes, I do have to drive through it, I guess, going from Alaska down to lower 48. Yes, that's true, I do. But I would not. I would drive into the United States and then drive over to New York. I wouldn't drive all the way across Canada. I guess I could do that, but I have to go to Montana and sell a bunch of stuff that I have there. I got a bunch of stuff in storage in Montana. So anyhow, back to the story. So the lady is approved for the financing. We had a great meeting here, and she and I are now, I'm helping her develop a business plan, which she's been putting in an application. She's got the stuff through the Small Business Administration. She's going to be doing an SBA loan. And lost connection to the chat. Everything looks good on my end, Sorrenti. Try refreshing. Maybe that'll help you. But it doesn't appear to be any problems here. Anyhow, so she's good to go. We figure we'll have the business plan and the application finished and have that into the Small Business Administration in the next couple weeks, and or the next week or so. They need a couple weeks to review it, to approve it, and so we'll know the final answer by the end of May, whether or not she'll be able to get all the financing that she wants, and then it's time for the bank to do their thing. So right now I am openly optimistic that I will be out of here in 86 days. August 1st, 86 days. That's what I'm aiming for. Hey, Grizz. Welcome, buddy. No kitties here. Well, if you can see what I said, it's fine. I tried refreshing and nothing. YouTube being YouTube, I guess. Yeah, I guess so. I'm experiencing the same with the chat. Had to jump on my cell to see. Really? Huh. I've never had a problem with the chats before. I've had problems with buffering and delays, but not with the chats. Yeah, Grizz, I'm glad you made it. Yes, Parrot Sailor, I am jazzed. I mean, I am more than happy and thrilled. I am jazzed. But that leads me to the next thing I want to tell everybody. I apologize. I really do apologize to all my subscribers, and I am not producing content right now. And I really have not been producing much of anything because old Grandpa has been busy. I have been, I've been busier than a no-arm paper hanger. I am hauling garbage, cleaning up stuff, packing stuff, getting ready to sell. I've got a auction guy coming this week. He's looking at I'm just going to go ahead and have an auction. Just going to have an auction. I'm going to take all the things that I need to keep with me, that I want to keep with me on the boat. Those are going to stay in the cabin. Everything else is going to go outside on tables or platforms or whatever. And I'm just anything that'll bring a penny. we're going to auction off the whole thing and get rid of everything at one shot. I could do 88 days. I could, be loading a bunch of stuff up on Craigslist or whatever. I don't have time for all that. So we're just going to go ahead and auction off all the personal property, and that way I get it all out of the way, and then I can finish cleaning up and get things looking nice for her. So when she buys the property, she's got it nice and clean. Yes, Grizz, you heard me right. You heard me right. It looks like we have. There still has to go through the bank and the Small Business Administration. There's a million things that could screw it up. Okay. So, it's not a done deal until the money's in my hand. I know that. I'm a realtor. I do this for a living, okay? It's a long road between now and there, but we're making good progress and we're on the way. So, that be the case, I might be on board, well, like this before. If I could buy it the 1st of August, I could be in New York, by September, and scoot right on down the East Coast and be down to Florida at the end of hurricane season, and my timing would be perfect to spend next winter in the Caribbean. So anyhow, I'm kind of hoping. Kelly, if things work out and if I buy that boat, it all depends on where I buy the boat, where I'm going to swim. Right now, I'm looking at this to 441. If everything works out and I buy that to 4, I'll be sailing down the canal, Lake Champlain Canal, into the river, the Hudson River down to New York City. From there, I'm probably going to circumnavigate Long Island, go once around Long Island in New York, where I grew up as a kid, visit some family and see some old sights. Stop into New York. There's a couple restaurants there. I got to stop at Peter Luger's and get steak. I got to go to Vincent's for some linguine, calamari, and what do they call it? They do a soft shell crab. There you go. So I got to have a little calamari with some linguine and soft shell crab. And what else do I want to stop? I guess that's it in New York. Peter Luger's and Vincent's, and then I'm going to head on down to Maryland, get some crab on the Maryland Eastern Shore, and work my way down the East Coast for starters. Then around the Caribbean, do the circle jerk around the Caribbean, but I want to hit Cuba and Jamaica as well, and then Mexico down to Belize, and then around Central America to Panama, over to through the canal then, and then start heading west. So, for sale, boats were, yes, Kevin, the camp sounds great. My wife works for under state grants. Yeah, it does sound great, Kevin. I think it's a wonderful thing that she'll be using the property for. I'm excited for her. So, and she likes the idea that I farm net animals here. So I'm going to be leaving for her all of the farming equipment, fencing and gates and all that stuff. I'm going to leave all that stuff here intact for her because she wants to have critters as soon as she gets here. Yes, Chris, very excited about this. I'm really looking forward to, I've been looking forward to this for decades, guys, okay? For decades. My dream of sailing around the world has cost me a marriage, and I'm ready to go. Been wanting to go for a long, long time. So it's going to be it's exciting times up here right now, I can assure you. And thank you, Native American Wanderer. I hope it all works out for me too. 14-foot John boat. Sorry, Chris. That won't do me much good. That won't do me much good at all. No, I'm making you hungry. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Hey, I don't know if any of you guys have ever eaten a steak from Peter Luger's in New York, but they age their own meat there. I'll tell you how good Peter Luger's is. When Johnny Carson was doing the Tonight Show on the West Coast, he would have Peter Luger's cook him dinner, put it on board a plane, fly it to him in L.A. so he could have steak for dinner, because that's the only place he would eat steak from, would be from Peter Luger's. That's how good the steak is at Peter Luger's restaurant, which is right as soon as you come. It's literally underneath the Brooklyn Bridge. As soon as you come over from New York into Brooklyn, it's right there under the bridge. Fantastic steak, fantastic. And Vincent's is sort of a place I grew up with. If you guys watch the Godfather movie, the scene where the son comes out of the bathroom and shoots the police commissioner and the other guy, that is actually happened, and that happened in Peter Luger's was the restaurant where that actually happened in. If you know your New York mob history and having grown up in New York and dated and married an Italian, and my best friend was Frankie Colombo, I knew a lot of that, more about that stuff than I cared to. Plus, with my dad working at Kennedy Airport, nothing went in and out of Kennedy without their having something to do with. Of course, that was a different time. That was, that was a different day and age. I'm sure, I'm hoping anyway, it's not like that anymore. Why did I shave my beard? I did answer that at the beginning, no problem. I shaved my beard because I was doing some trimming with my electric shear, and the dog literally jumped up and hit my arm, and I whacked off a quarter of my right mustache. And I said, I looked at it, I tried to figure out, I tried to shorten this one to match it, and it looked stupid, so I just shaved everything off, and we'll start over again, let it grow up again, which is fine, because it's getting warm up here in Alaska now. And frankly, the gray in my beard made me look older than I feel. So thank you, Caroline. Appreciate that. Yep, I'm really jazzed about getting the place sold here. Sounds like I'll be able to move over. Sounds expensive. What sounds expensive? Trying to think of everything we were talking about. What sounds expensive? I'm not sure. You'll have to expand on that. What do you mean why gold sounds expensive? Basics of living. Hey, welcome. What's up? Sorry you missed most of the live chat, but the steak dinner. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I mean, I don't know what they charge now. The last time I ate in Peter Luger's was probably 15, 16, 17 years ago, maybe longer than that. I'm sure it's gone up since then, but there are some things that are just worth the money. So, do you plan on cooperating Instagram and Facebook to your YouTube channel also? Yes, Kelly, I must admit I'm sort of behind the times with my social media expertise. I do Facebook. I do Facebook quite a lot. Grandpa's Farm has a Facebook channel, but I think I'm just going to use my personal Facebook channel, my Carl Brook Facebook channel. You can jump on there on Facebook, search Carl Brook, BROOKE, up here in Alaska, you'll find me, or search Grandpa's Farm and you'll find me on Facebook. But yeah, I will do that, and I do have an Instagram account. I don't know what my Instagram name is. I'm really I have a son who sends me pictures of my granddaughter on Instagram, and I respond back to him. That's the extent of my Instagram use. Other than that, I haven't used it at all, but I do plan on stepping that up. It's something I need to work on. I've also been learning a bit about Twitter, and plan on expanding with Twitter as well. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, I think I'll have enough covered there. Got to be in the right places, I guess, to get the right attention. But YouTube will certainly be my main passion, or my main outlet for information. So been busy for a while, not really video material, so I've not been around a while. No problem, Basics Living. Just glad you made it. Grizz says, Grandpa, get a couple of cats for breeders so you can change up my diet. Yeah. No, that's okay, Grizz. I'm not into eating. Never mind. I'm not going to say it. You know what I'm saying. You already know what I was thinking. You've got just as dirty of a mind as I do. Yeah, we're bad. Us old men are bad. I should be bad grandpa. You guys seen that movie, Bad Grandpa? That should be me. I should be bad grandpa. I do not behave well. And I'm antisocial. My first wife used to say I was rude, crude, lewd, and sociably unacceptable. I think she was right with that. That's me. Rude, crude, lewd, and sociably unacceptable. And you can tell that I've said that so many times, I kind of have the pattern of that down pretty easily. I can do that in my sleep. Rude, crude, lewd, and sociably unacceptable. I've heard it so many times from her. Not why I divorced her. I divorced my first wife for a number of reasons, but her smoking was a big part of that. So It is what it is, you know. So what do you guys think? Does that boat look like it'd be pretty cool? Does that look like a pretty good sailboat? I'm jazzed about it. I'm thinking because it's already now May, so the summer season, because where this is on Lake Champlain, this is a summer season boat. In the wintertime, they would be putting this boat up on the hard for the winter. So it's now the end of May or beginning of May, and they haven't sold it yet. It's not pending or anything, as far as I know. I figure if it goes into mid to late June, then I stand a really good chance of buying this particular boat. Um, if not, then I'll keep looking, and depending on where I find a boat will determine my schedule. If I find a great boat up here in Alaska, I might just sail down from Alaska. If I find one in Seattle, I'm looking everywhere, including all the way down to Mexico. Any place I can drive to with my truck is where I'm looking. So anywhere from, La Paz, Mexico, up to Alaska, Seattle, anywhere on the West Coast, and certainly anywhere on the East Coast, around Texas. I'm looking at all these places at boats right now. So, yeah, yeah, basically, I ended up shaving it. It'll grow back. Thanks, Weigold. I hope I get it too. I'm looking forward to it. Basics. To see what the boat. Have to see the boat on the return. I mean, after I tear it up after sailing around the world a couple times, yeah, I imagine the boat's going to be pretty much trashed by the time I get done with it. But, that's just the way some people are. I buy a truck, I buy new, and I drive it until you can't put the wheels back on anymore. I get 300, 400,000 miles out of a vehicle. In fact, I'm kind of lamenting about the fact that I have to sell my Excursion, which is my favorite vehicle of all time. My favorite vehicle, bar none, that I've ever owned is these diesel 7.3 liter turbo diesel Ford Excursions. This is a 2001 model. I had a 2000 that I drove around for a decade before that. My last one, I sold it with about 350, 360,000 miles on it. I've only got like 140 on this one. So, I'm easily good for another half a decade anyway on it, maybe more. And I'm going to sell it, and it's not anywhere near wore out. Be the first vehicle actually that I've sold that I didn't completely wear out. I mean, usually when I sell a vehicle, it has to be dragged out of here. So we'll see. I'm sure I'll be the same way with the boat. I'll drive that boat until the wheels fall off, and it don't have wheels, so that'll be hard to do. Anyhow, unless somebody's got something else they'd like to talk about, I think we're going to pull the plug here. I think we've done our hour. You guys have wasted another perfectly good hour talking to old Grandpa. Glad I was able to show people the kind of boat I'm looking at and what I'd like to do with it. We'll just have to see where it goes. We've got the farm hopefully sold, so hopefully we'll get out of here soon. Hopefully we can buy the boat. Hope, hope, hope. A lot of hope going on right now, and a lot of preparation, a lot of cleaning up. So maybe next week it'll be sunny and nice outside, and I can talk about shrimp traps, which is what I've been wanting to talk about anyway. Got it prepared, so maybe we can talk about shrimp traps next week. So anyhow, guys, you all take care. Be good. We'll catch you all later. If you feel inclined, maybe you might go over and check out my Patreon page. I do have a Patreon now. I have a patron. I have one patron so far. So if you'd like to jump in there and take a look at it, please do. I'm going to try to build that up here over time. In the meantime, you guys, just have a real good life, and we'll see you next week. Austin says, did you see what has happened with Big Family Homestead? Austin, I've heard all kinds of rumors about what happened with Big Family Homestead. I prefer to stay out of it. I have nothing to do with them or what's happening to them. Suffice it to say, though, I think good things happen to good people. All right, guys. We'll see you all next week. You guys take care. Nighty night.